Technical difficulties. I mean, I feel like the pandemic has really given me a sense of liberation of just like, there are things you cannot control. It's fine. Don't even worry about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's we have to go with the flow at some point, but then you have to pick and choose the things you really fight for. And I think tomorrow is one of those things, like, I know it's a tough year. I know everyone's freaked out. I know we're all stressed, but, like, this is a really important election that's going to affect so many people. And, you know, even if you're somebody that hasn't been targeted by the Trump administration, I feel like, I mean, this is a slightly more spiritual way of looking at it, but the collective energy in the country that we're living in and the communities that we're in is being tainted by the current situation. There's a lot of anxiety. There's a lot of toxic negativity. All of the rhetoric that he's spouting, there are people that agree with him and that are running around and acting crazy and trying to enforce some sort of martial law or something. And I'm not saying it to scare people. I'm saying it because it's something to be, you can't bury your head in the sand. You've got to be aware of what's going on.
Yeah, I think that part about not burying your head in the sand is actually really important, because I do feel like people get overwhelmed or people feel powerless or like they can't do anything. And, you know, my job as an organizer is to really motivate people and help them see that, like, there is actually always something we can do. And I feel like in this last 24 hours, you can go vote if you haven't. You can talk to your friends and family to vote. You can make do a volunteer shift, do a tech shift. You can donate to the campaign, Joe Biden's campaign, or the Senate campaigns, or even down ballot races. Like, they really need your help and support. And I do feel like one amazing thing about my job is that I never feel powerless, because I always know, like, something that can be done. And one thing I think is really underrated is actually talking to your friends and family. Like, as we go into this election season, people are like, oh my God, I heard you, I should vote. But actually, like, over half of the people who are eligible to vote in America do not actually vote every election.
Exactly.
And so, like, the reason you hear this all the time, and people just constantly saying this, is that most people are going to hear all this and still say no. And in this election, that is just not an option. We've seen already through the early vote numbers so many people who have been turning out. It's possible that we have historic turnout in this election, but that will really only happen if people show up tomorrow and make sure that they vote in person. And it can be done really safely, and it's worth it. Like 100%, no matter what happens, it will be worth it.
I agree. And you know what? Maybe make it fun. I mean, if there's your friends and you that haven't voted yet, you know what? Make some margaritas. Then put on your masks, go down to wherever you need to go to vote. Make it fun, you know? Like, make it into an afternoon, you know? A cocktail hour. Happy. You know, just get there. However you need to get there. I mean, don't drink too much where you don't know what you're voting for, but...
Make a list of who you're voting for before you start the cocktails.
Yeah. Or maybe celebrate afterwards with a cocktail. How's that?
Yeah. Actually, one of my friends has a project called
Coming up with a voting plan is so...
Yes, absolutely. Especially right now, it's like, you know, we're super busy, we're trying to handle the kids, everything else, and it's possible you may have to wait in line. We hope that doesn't happen, but you might. And so you want to make sure that you know, like, how are you going? What time are you going to go? How are you going to get there? Like, where is your polling place? And again, you can go to iwillvote.com or voyavotar.com, and you can check both of those to make sure. And you know, one of my friends actually has a project called Joy to the Polls this year. And there's tons of playlists from people who have given you kind of like a soundtrack to listen. And I think, obviously, you should also listen to the entire Adam Lambert catalog. That will definitely get you through. But if you need some additional music, you go to Joy to the Polls. That's like another thing. I love that. Like, I love the idea that even as people are trying to suppress our votes, we are saying, no, we're going to have a good time. We're going to bring our margaritas. We're going to listen to our music. We're going to celebrate, because we deserve that. At the end of 4 years of the Trump administration, as we like make our voices heard, like, I want it to be so joyful and amazing.
100% agree with you. I mean, and the suppression is real. It's like what you were talking about. I mean, there are clear acts of people being barred from voting. There's like some of the polling stations are like purposely really crowded. You know, and screw them. Let's prove a point. You know, that no one can stop you from exercising your American right to vote. vote that is your right, no matter who you are, no matter how much money you have, no matter the color of your skin, no matter who you love. We are all a United States. We are all here for a reason. Let's prove it to those that think that we don't deserve that right.
Yes, 100%. Yes.
I think that there's something we should remind you. There's a call to action here on this thing. Try this. Get your phone, text WIN to 30330, 30330, and that's the word WIN, W-I-N, in number code. WIN to the number 30330 to get involved in this final stretch. And check your registration, make a plan at iwillvote.com. Also, one thing to remember is on your ballot, there's an option, at least here in California, where you can track your ballot to make sure that it was counted and that it got processed. I think this year, more than ever, with all the, the scare tactics that are going on, like, oh, there's going to be voter fraud. To me, that's the Trump administration trying to come up with an excuse ahead of time for losing. So, F them, get your, that's some slippery snake oil salesman stuff right there. So get your vote tracked, make sure it's been counted, because if we find out that something's gone down and you find out that your vote hasn't been counted, I think we can start raising our hands going, something's wrong.
Absolutely. And if anything happens to you like that, if your ballot is messed up in some way, you have any problems with the polls, you see something, you can actually call the voter protection hotline. There are thousands of lawyers all over the country ready to help support everybody. That hotline is 833-DEM, D-E-M, vote.
Great. Awesome. Well, I love that we got to talk today about our specific communities. I mean, for those of you out there that are part of the LGBTQ plus community, just keep in mind that even though it hasn't been a major talking point during the debates in this election, unfortunately, if you really do some research, and also actually the Latino community hasn't been a big talking point either, which I find a little tricky, but I think that they're trying to keep everybody focused. There's a lot to look at. But if you do your own research, if you're a member of these communities, you will figure out very quickly which side of the ballot you should go for. I know I've mentioned it before, but the queer community's rights have been consistently attacked and reversed. I just posted something earlier here on Instagram. There's a whole list of things that the administration have done to us. Including the trans ban in the military. There's certain healthcare issues. There's, if they had their way, they would repeal all of the gay marriage situation that we fought so hard for. I mean, with this new conservative seat in the Supreme Court, which is very dangerous what they did. There's just a whole list. So do your research. It's very easy. This is time to do some homework, guys. It's one day.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, I couldn't have said it better. And I think what we know is that Joe Biden has actually been a leader on these issues. He was one of the first in the Obama-Biden administration to say that he was supportive of repealing Don't Ask, Don't Tell, and has really everything he, to use his pulpit to talk about the LGBT community. So if that's the thing that's turning you out, the choice could not be more clear.
It's so obvious. And if you have any heart at all in your chest and care about your fellow neighbor, if you care about your community, this is the time to vote for the blue ticket. You look at some of the other countries around the world and how they dealt with COVID and how they deal with some of these other issues. And you look at communities in countries around the world that are successful in their current fight against COVID. And there are ways in which we could follow their lead if we had somebody in charge that wasn't too proud to do so.
That's right. Absolutely. I mean, I found out actually this morning that a dear friend, longtime colleague had actually passed away of COVID. And, I haven't seen him in about a year. And it really did give me the extra fuel that I needed for these last few days. He deserves so much better. And so does everyone's family who's been affected by this, everyone's family who's passed away. Every single one of those deaths was preventable. Every single one. And that is something that it just doesn't, I don't think it really matters who you voted for in the past or what parties your family has always been with or whatever. I think what matters is we deserve to live and thrive just
like as human beings in the world, and that's not happening under the Trump administration.
Yeah, I mean, Republican, Democrat, like, do your thing, but that guy is not fit to be president. Period. The end. We can all agree that he is a chaotic orange mess. So, time to go. Boom. All right. Well, Jess, it was so nice to talk to you, and let's all keep our fingers crossed for tomorrow. Everybody, please go vote. Please go vote if you haven't. Talk to your friends. Hold everybody accountable. Tease them if they haven't voted, for God's sakes, you know? Get everybody out there.
Do what it takes.
Do what it takes, please. We want the next 4 years to be amazing. We want the roaring 20s to be awesome.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much, Adam. Thank you for doing this whole thing. What a pleasure this was.
Thank you so much. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Bye.